Hi, good morning. Today I want to talk about Katherine Lockwood. Sorry, the prodigy. Sorry, Kate Galvin. Because honestly, I don't trust her. Throughout season 4, she appears to be a woman with a past that she's ashamed of and she wants to build a better life for herself and do good in the world, but that sounds kind of familiar. I've been trying to figure her out as I rewatch season 4, but she is a tough one. There have been some comparisons between Kate and Love, but I don't think Kate is Love 2.0. Love mirrored Jo in that she justified her killings to herself, having killed the au pair to protect her brother, Delilah to protect Jo, and Candace and Natalie to protect the family that she wanted to have with Jo. But Kate mirrors Jo in the way that she has darkness in her past and she wants to move on from that. She now wants to do good in the world to compensate for what she did when she was acting in her own self-interest and trying to prove that she was the strongest girl in the world. Love didn't feel remorse over killing anyone, and while her murders may have been impulsive, it would seem somewhere in her mind she always considered murder to be an option since she so readily resorted to killing. Actually, I think Jo at the end of season 4 is more like Love than Kate is, as he's finally accepted the part of himself that sees murder as a tool and is no longer held back by the guilt. Ironic, as he's now the man that Love wanted him to be all along. Kate, on the other hand, seems genuinely remorseful for her actions and tried to leave behind that version of herself, building a new life in London. But as we've seen these last 3 seasons with Jo, taking on a new name in a new city doesn't necessarily change who you are at your core. And Kate knows there's darkness at her core. In episode 7, she tells Jo that there's something bad in her and that it's still in her. I think the biggest indicator of what version of Kate we'll get in season 5 will be the name that she chooses to live with. If she decides to live as Katherine Lockwood as she takes over her father's empire, I believe she'll really quickly revert to her selfish ways, once again compartmentalizing the harm that she causes for the sake of advancing her own interests. But if she continues as Kate Galvin, she might stand a chance to actually do some good in the world and live out the redemption arc that Jo has been so desperate for all these years. I see a lot of parallels between Kate and Jo in season 4. For example, in episode 4, Kate explains to Jo that her father paid to have well water toxicity reports falsified, which resulted in multiple children getting cancer while the company profited massively. In the moment that she's telling him this, she does seem genuinely upset by it, but we later find out it was her that had the reports falsified in order to get a pipeline built. What stood out to me was how she first tells Jo it was her father that did all of that. She attributed her own actions to somebody else because admitting that those were her actions was too upsetting to reconcile with. Similarly, Jo spends most of the season convincing himself that somebody else is committing the eat the rich killings because he doesn't want to accept responsibility for his actions. Then in the last episode of the season, Jo throws Reese off a bridge in an attempt to kill off that monstrous part of himself, but just as with his suicide attempt, he was unsuccessful and we see that he ends the season instead having embraced that darkness. So isn't it interesting that Jo also kills off Tom Lockwood, the person he sees as the one who pushed Kate to do monstrous things? Killing Tom doesn't change who Kate is any more than killing Reese changed who Jo is. Once Tom is gone, Kate doesn't hesitate to accept his business empire, readily reuniting with the power that corrupted her before. My most charitable interpretation of Kate, seeing her as a woman genuinely regretful for the ruthless business decisions she made as a young adult that's actively working to better herself and put good into the world, still leaves me believing she's doomed to repeat her past, especially considering the immense power she now has. She says herself she's not afraid of being her father because she's already worse. In the same conversation, she tells Jo she will never not be Katherine Lockwood, and with the way she jumped on the opportunity to take over her father's business empire after his death, there's no way that amount of power isn't going to tempt her down the same path that she went before. And while she may be intending to use that power for good, she's doing so with Jo by her side, and I think he'll bring out the worst in her. She says that she wants to be good, that she wants her and Jo to keep each other good, but the very first thing she does after her father's death is cover up Jo's murder of Reese. When I started writing this video, I had this conspiracy that Kate was manipulative and calculated, but as I watched the season again, I came to believe that she's actually just naive and desperate to be loved. She had complicated relationships with both of her parents, and even one of her closest friends, Roald, weaponizes her past against her, but Jo just sees her as she is now. He sees the good in her. And when he follows her to the bar after Simon's funeral because there's a killer on the loose, she asks why he would even care, and he says he just does. Her whole demeanor changes. She had said previously that trust is earned, and I think in that moment, he earned her trust. But as smart as Kate seems, she has a history of overlooking some indiscretions while being completely oblivious to others. She knew Malcolm cheated on her and she let it slide as he made her happy otherwise, but she was clueless about his sexual harassment of women. Fast forward to Joe, she's willing to overlook his murder of Reese as they make a pact to keep each other good. Meanwhile, she seemingly doesn't realize that Joe's responsible for the murder of her father and her friends as well. I expect that might carry over into season 5. I don't think Kate will fall back into making unethical business decisions and prioritizing company profit, but I do think problems will arise that Joe will resolve in unsavory ways and need Kate's resources to cover up. By the end of season 4, I think Kate intends to do real good with the power she's inherited. I do believe she's capable of change. But Joe isn't, and now that he's embraced all parts of himself, he's only going to get worse and will most likely pull Kate down with him. I think that would be interesting to explore, Kate trying to do the right thing and put good into the world, and Joe doing whatever serves him no matter who gets hurt in the process. Will there be a point when she says enough is enough, or will she cover up his crimes indefinitely? We'll just have to wait and see. But what do you think about Kate Galvin? Do you trust her? Do you think she and Joe will start their joint charity teaching orphans to read and swim and make art? Let me know what you're thinking in the comments because she could have me completely fooled. Be sure to like and subscribe. Please and thank you. Bye.